Morning, Bruce. How are you?
I'll introduce you on your own, Bob, and the rest of the panel are here as well.
Oh, that's lovely, Bruce. That's lovely.
Don Scott, Ross Glendinning, Ian Robertson, Dennis Committee, and Gerard Healy. Gentlemen, let's start with the footies and the Big M, because you've got a couple there. Bobby, your feeling being a traditionalist, you had no Big M when you were playing. McDonald's sponsoring the Sherrin during the final series. A problem for you?
No, I'd have probably covered it up. I got it that often, Bruce, with the hands like that. No, Bruce, the only thing I'm concerned about is that I thought the AFL were terribly arrogant in not informing clubs and not informing players about it. I thought that was... I don't think it really makes that much difference to the ball.
They should run back and ask for 3 times the fee that they asked for. It's the best exposure you've ever seen for any company. That football last night...
Should it have been done?
Well, I don't think there's any argument. It's a money game now anyway, isn't it?
As we said yesterday, Bruce, it's great for centre square takeaways.
Oh, should we see...
Sorry, boys.
Should we see, Bruce, how much money they actually got for it and how much the clubs receive? I think that is an interesting point.
I think the impact that it has on the West Coast Eagles sponsorship with Hungry Jacks is something that should have been considered also.
That's the consultation, Bruce, that perhaps should have happened. There should have been some consideration given the clubs to have their voice about their thoughts, but obviously it didn't happen. But I don't think there's anything wrong with the idea.
What about other sports? To my mind, I racked my brain, which is not very hard to do.
Only took you a couple of seconds.
Don, I'd love to have been there.
Second. And third, Bruce, no. What other sport actually advertises on their own ball? Cricket, basketball, gridiron?
Perhaps they haven't thought about it, Don.
Well, they have been advertising in Perth, I think, with the Pepsi Cola.
That's right.
I think
haven't the VFA had Mazda on their ball for quite a long time?
You might be right,
find that
Bobby.
right, Bruce.
Look at some of the other things we could put on the ball. Rather than McDonald's, we could come up with, Dolly's...
Dressmaking?
Dolly's dressmaking, mixed meats. What else have we got here? Oh, Acme Towing, and this is the coup de grace, this last one. This was the Parkwood
Oh,
Motel.
heavens, what a beauty. That is a good...
That's a good idea,
Might be
Bob.
out of my range of fraction, Bruce, that's all.
We should tee everyone up that the Parkwood Motel is... you own it, don't you, Bobby?
That is correct, Bruce.
I wonder how much it'll cost you to get onto the footy, Bobby. Oh, well. Not going to happen, Bob?
Oh, well, it might be a good idea in Geelong, Bruce. It might be a marvellous thing, to be perfectly truthful. I was thinking when Scotty said, perhaps when those swimmers are going up and down the pool and they shave their heads now, that'd be a pretty good place to put a sign.
Oh, Mill Hannah might be listening. Let's have a look at what happened yesterday. North over West Coast. It was a disappointing match, to be honest. West Coast were very good, but there was no atmosphere at the ground. It was like a home and away game, and it was very hard to feel that it was a finals. But well done, West Coast. So disappointing for North Melbourne because they have been excellent this year. And last night was such a contrast for those that went to the day and night. 15-10 to 14-14, a classic match played before a big crowd with excellent atmosphere. This was the Harding incident when he went down. What was your immediate reaction there, Dennis?
Well, it's a dangerous situation, probably, as we said at the time, the most dangerous situation in footy. The bloke's down. Initially, he fumbled. The ball's out of control. His concentration's gone. He's after the ball again, and suddenly that bloke came in hard on him, as we saw. I was worried for it.
Definitely. Great first goal by Schwash. Thought it might have got a lift here from North Melbourne. Didn't come. Lewis's goal was equally as good. In fact, Don, you said yesterday you felt that it was the superior of the two.
Hanging in there, this one is a fantastic kick, a deliberate kick. We saw some great spirals yesterday. Maybe it's the M on the ball.
Roscoe, you didn't think Lewis had played during the week, did you?
No, I thought he was, in my view, he's lucky to be selected, having only played one game in 7, and I thought there are other players who've contributed or put their effort ahead of his that may have been selected, but he vindicated his selection in the first half, particularly.
Waterman's mark and Matera's goal were standouts, weren't they? Kernahan's start last night when he kicked 4 goals in the opening quarter. In fact, I think he got all 6 goals at the scoreboard end, from memory.
Yes, he kicked 2 in the third term, Bruce.
Buick's was a little beauty, as you said, Robbo, at the time. The Silvani... Now, this was an interesting one, a 50-metre penalty coming here for Heaver. It was poor play by Calthorpe at the time.
And the umpire.
Yeah, the umpire going to ground. Heaver's been excellent, hasn't he? 4 goals again last night. He's kicked over 40 goals this season. He's been one of the surprise packets and a bonus for the Blues. This was Mercurie's goal off the ground. Mercury did pretty well in the when he came back on the ground.
but he's not in front.
This was Watson's second goal. Tim not at his best last night, but he ended up with 3 goals. It might have been flattering in the end for him, getting a goal right at the end. And at that point, it looked as if Essendon was away. They were leading by 19 points. Oh, that was a little gem, wasn't it? Gee, that was good play by Williams in the heat of the moment. He was right in the heat of the kitchen there and found Gleeson, who was down a bit and then lifted with 2 goals in a minute. He and Bradley were terrific in the second
He got some
half.
big raps from Colin Kinnear after the game when Gerard interviewed him. Was Gleeson.
Christo's impressive, isn't he? The finish there was good.
I think he's one of the finds of the season.
Such an advantage, that left foot, long left foot and pace.
And he's pretty quick too.
Very loose at the start of the season.
Well, I saw him get 4 goals in a match at Waverley not too long ago, and he looked pretty good. Watson getting his 3rd, as I said, the siren went, and it was a match that it was a shame there had to be a loser. But Essendon had its chance. They led by 19 points in the 3rd quarter and didn't quite go on with it. Power and passion. Well, the Eagles have got a spring in their step, so the Times says in Perth. D-Day, the Mail says, for the Adelaide Crows. Gerard Healy suggested in the National Hour that maybe they had an even bigger match last week. It's going to be interesting to talk about that. And in Melbourne, the Sunday Age says, well, Carlton over the moon. They're into the second semi-final with that 2-point win. Good on you, Scotty. Good to see you again.
Bruce.
It was a great night last night.
Absolutely wonderful. Couldn't get a better night, and what a great game too.
I wonder if that had been the grand final last night, if we'd had any people saying what a shame it was played at night.
No, 79,000, just a little down on expectations. They're expecting 85, but I think a lot of people sort of prepared to sort of go to one match and probably hold off for today as well.
You've got to say that the weekend hasn't worked unless they get a good crowd today, because there was a shockingly disappointing crowd on.
29,000, they were very, very disappointed. I spoke to Ron Casey today, and he said that they weren't expecting too many there, but he feels the AFL now have to promote Waverley a little bit better if they're going to hold finals there, and I think that's probably right too.
You just feel now that Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday might have worked better. Tell us about some of the injuries. There's a lot of them. Run through.
Well, the big one is Paul Salmon, whether he'll play next week. Now, he's got something called a Dinosaurius muscle.
Sounds like Jurassic Park.
It comes out of Jurassic Park.
Can we bring the physiotherapist? What's that?
Where does it go from?
Well,
Gerard?
it actually goes just down the inside of the leg.
Oh, it doesn't.
Like so, but I was surprised if it was the Sartorius, not the Dinosaurius.
Gerard, give us another look. We missed
Just
the
from
inside of
about
your
here,
leg there.
down to there,
Come
and it does
round
that
here.
sort of
Have a good look. Where's his injury?
Where's it?
Okay, thank you very much.
It does that.
Okay.
He will play though, because Essendon said that he was quite confident last night after he went off the ground that he'd be right for next week.
Platten?
Platten will play despite all the rumours. He trained beautifully on Friday night, and there's no doubt about him.
Why did Williams come off the ground?
A sore knee, he felt he should come off just at that particular time. Peter Dean got through the reserves well, kicked the ball with his crook foot, and he'll be in selection next week.
Harding?
Harding will be okay, quite elated over after he came out of the hangover, and he'll play too.
Ben Hart, will he play today?
Ben Hart won't play, highly unlikely. They'll give him a sort of a little test, but they're prepared to cop the $3,000 fine, but they said they probably won't play.
What's the latest with Fatty Lamb in Western Australia?
Fatty Lamb, they're very upset, the West Australians, because he's not allowed to play with Subiaco today. They're going to put a protest in. He's not eligible. They would have loved to get him a match practice there, but he can't do it.
They're winding you, Scotty. Buckley?
Buckley was seen playing golf at Barwon Heads this week by the Collingwood Spies. What does that suggest?
I'll have to work that out.
I think it's over those two clubs.
And Kenny Sheldon?
Kenny Sheldon's in Adelaide today. His coaching position is hanging in the balance. There's about 3 players in for it, Elves and Barker. You know, I'm a bit doubtful about him.
Good on you, Scotty. Keep punching.
Good, Bruce.
Essendon and Carlton coming up after this, and we've got players and officials from each of the finals matches.
GIO Australia thinks as much of everything in your home as you do. So if your faithful appliance or favourite furniture is stolen or destroyed in a fire, GIO will replace it with a brand new one. New for old, no matter how old. It's a refreshing idea in home contents insurance. Why trust the things you know and love to GIO Australia? To be really sure. Give GIO Australia a call.
This is a multi-valve engine. It has 4 valves per cylinder, so it needs an easier flowing oil for long-lasting protection. Castrol GDX3, liquid engineering for your car.
Play Monopoly at McDonald's. Get your game card, scratch 3 game pieces, and match the property group to win the all-new 1.8-litre Hyundai Elantra family sedan. Or you could win instantly.
Snack time.
Mitsubishi Triton Utes and Express vans. They only stop when you do.
You know Max and Stewie. Does my choice affect them?
No.
Now what about Gary and Sharon?
No, you just choose the company you want. Telecom or Optus.
And what about Adele and Trevor?
No. Your choice has absolutely nothing to do with anyone else.
No one? Not even you?
No, not even me.
Oh, wish you'd told me that before.
Why?
Oh, because then I wouldn't have to listen to you carrying on.
Well, it's your phone. It's your choice.
From the people who brought you... and especially comes the limited edition Audi 80 Sport. German engineering, ABS equipped, and with $3,200 worth of sports extras at no extra cost. At this price, it will go very fast. The limited edition Audi 80 Sport at your Audi dealer right now.
But hurry, stocks are limited. Tonight, what can they possibly do that they haven't done already?
We could do what we normally do, talk dirty and pig out.
How about taking in a Schwarzenegger movie?
What kind of a movie is this?
Rip his throat out!
It's a musical, Rose.
Yes, the Golden Girls return 7:30 tonight. And this time, they're double the laughter with an hour of side-splitting comedy.
You dated Tony Bennett?
He may have left his heart in San Francisco, but he left his shorts on my radiator.
The Golden Girls Hour, 7:30 tonight, following Talk to the Animals.
Well, in 100 years of footy between the two clubs, only 3 times a 2-point margin, and even more significantly, this match will be remembered for many, many years. Ian Robertson was one of the callers last night. There was a big turning point, Robbo, at 10-7 to 7-6 in the third quarter. The Bombers looked as if they were sailing away to win.
Yeah, well, it was a very tight game for most of the night, and when you get 19 points in front, just that next goal could have made a big difference for Essendon. And
particularly when they were 2 goals behind just before half-time.
Well, Ross has just mentioned Carlton kicked 5 goals to 1 for the rest of the quarter from there on. And then in the finish in the last quarter, the Blues kicked away. And to Essendon's credit, they just never gave in. And I think that was another comment that was passed in an interview after the game, that both of these sides, well, they're very, very evenly matched. They had a draw earlier in the year, 20 points or 21 points to Essendon, and now 2 points to Carlton. So a lot is going to depend on, particularly from Essendon's point of view, as to whether those 6 players, 5 or 6 players, can get fit for next week. And then Essendon, of course, have got to hope that they can get another crack at Carlton.
It was indicative of how the game went, that no one really stood up for the whole game as the best player on the ground. Some players played well for a quarter, maybe a half. Then they were cut back by their opponent. So there are a lot of good players in halves, maybe 3 quarters, but no one really for a full 4 quarters.
Ross, how'd you see the coaching battle?
Well, I thought there were a lot of changes made, Gerard, particularly Kevin Shooty trying to get the balance right, particularly when Middle Hanna early got on top of Paul Hills. He took Hills off and he's swapping blokes to and fro, trying to get the balance. He had Ridley on the bench to start with. He came on early. And, I mean, couldn't quite settle. And particularly then when Danaher was having trouble with Kernahan, Robbo said, should you make a change? Well, there wasn't really anyone he could change down to put onto Kernahan. Sorry, Ridley was possibly a choice, or dropping Harvey back, Watson to centre-half back. But that's really, I think the options were very limited.
Should Paul Salmon have been out there with that injury? Now, it's interesting that he's fit to play next week. Surely he could have played another 10 minutes if he's going to play next week.
Well, how would I know?
Well, I'm asking you the question. You've played the game and you've been in that situation where you've got an injury and you declared yourself fit for the following week.
Well, he played all right until he injured his groin. It wasn't his groin.
Well, he's going to play next week
before the game.
But he's going to play next week. I'm asking you, could he have stayed out there?
Well, the same thing can be said about
well,
Greg
could he have,
Williams.
Gerard?
What do you think he should have?
I'm asking you.
Well, I think that Sartorius is only an accessory muscle, perhaps, but then he's got to think of next week, and he doesn't want to create too much more damage. But on the other hand, the game was there to be won.
on
So
what you're
what do you...
saying.
what are you saying?
I'm asking the question.
sitting where you
I'm
are,
asking
right
the
next to you
question,
on the
wanting an
fence.
answer.
Don, you happy with the answer?
No.
You don't think it should have gone off?
No,
do
I'm
you?
just asking for...
No, that's the
point of the question. You have a go.
Well, that's what I think. I don't think he should have gone off, no.
Because of the critical nature of
the game.
Of the game. A man of the match, can we come up with a consensus here?
Well, I think Ross summed it up pretty well when he said that players came into the game, dropped out. Opponents played well against, like for instance, Stephen Kernahan was very, very good in the first quarter, had a quiet second term, kicked 2 in the third.
Andy McKay was very composed the whole game, I thought.
Ola Renshaw in the third term nearly won the game off his own boot for the Bombers. He must have had about 10 possessions.
OK, so at this stage, no one's going to come up with a man of the match.
Well, very difficult when there's only 2 points of difference. Obviously, both sides have got 3 or 4 really good players that contributed.
Fair enough. Gary O'Donnell and Justin Madden are our guests from the game. Firstly, congratulations, Justin. Gary, I would like to ask you the feeling in the rooms after the match. Was it one that really got away, you felt?
We were all pretty disappointed, I think, Bruce. We went into the game thinking we could win. Finishing on top after the home and away series gave us a lot of confidence. And, yeah, the boys were very, very disappointed. But, again, finishing on top gives us another chance. And we regroup and hopefully have a good week at training and bubble up for next week.
And one question which may sound silly, but I did hear David Parkin on radio talk about this. Knowing that West Coast had won so comfortably during the day, did it add anything to that match last night, knowing that the loser would have to face the defending Premier next week, from both of you?
Yeah, well, I think so. I think that people were concerned before our game that we might have to play a very confident Eagles side if we were to lose. So, you know, we had everything to play for.
And, Gary, you face that now?
We do. I think the competition's pretty even. There's no standout side. Obviously, the Eagles have played well yesterday, but yeah, we're a good side. We'll only keep improving with players coming back week after week, and, you know, we'll make a good showing next week.
To Gary and Justin, how did you fill in yesterday before the game, and did going up a notch in the football, playing at night, make any difference?
Well, I think it was very difficult during the day because you have a set routine of a set day, and to have to sort of delay your routine for a number of hours is difficult, and there's only certain things you can do at that time. You can't do anything too tiring, I suppose. So I ended up, you know, a bit of a family day, but you know, it's not...
Father's Day one day early.
That's right. It's not as if you can go out and mow the lawn or something on the Saturday
What about you, Gary?
I think the younger guys might struggle, being in their first final maybe, to think about it for a whole day, but you know, I was fairly relaxed. You know, you get up late, you have a bit to eat, perhaps go down the local shop and then have a couple of hours sleep in the afternoon, and the day goes pretty quick.
And playing at night.
Playing at night's not a problem.
Even in the final?
Probably prefer to play during the day, but it just wasn't to be so this year. But we've got a day final next week.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult, you know, having to come to terms with different conditions for such a different big game, I suppose. So I think that was difficult for a lot of the young players too, is that they had to confront a Saturday night game as well as a big final, and not having experienced either. What are the different conditions? Well, I think it was a lot more humid. I think night football at 36. The MCG is particularly humid.
Well, it was only 36, so, like,
yeah,
that's probably not right.
Sure. It felt very humid.
Right.
It might be the conditions of the, you know, the stadium or something. Also, that you've got to get used to the sort of glare with the lights and
But you train at night, I mean, and you play at night quite often. There's a pre-season competition, isn't it? Just being a little bit overdone.
Oh, maybe, but you know, when it's a big game like a final, you'd like to think that you had all the other peripheral things under control, but you don't necessarily have those things under control.
Gary, can I ask the players coming into the side, the Danaher brothers, Alan Izard, having played a fair bit of reserves footy this year, would they have found it just a bit difficult to step up, not only to the seniors, but then to a final?
No, I think quite often a guy's first game in the seniors after a break can be an advantage. You know, you really want to do well, and probably it's their second game where you fall back a bit. But those three guys have had plenty of experience. I think something like 700 games of experience came into our side last night. So, you know, we couldn't complain at that. And, you know, at different times I thought all three of them did well. We just perhaps couldn't put it together, you know, for a whole night.
We've already mentioned how the game went one way and the other, and particularly the third term. Did either one of you detect anything really happen when the Essendon side were 19 points in front? You're in the centre area for most of the game. Did you detect?
Yeah, I detected that we got a bit more of the ball out of the centre, and that the fellas at ground level were doing very well, and that's always a good sign for us that some of the key players are getting a lot of the ball at ground level, and particularly out of the centre, and that's certainly a big start for us, and that certainly helped.
Did you sort of feel anything,
In
Gary?
that third quarter, we made a few uncharacteristic mistakes down the back. Normally, you know, later on in the quarter, going straight to the boundary line or being a bit conservative, and we kept the ball alive a couple of times, which allowed Carlton to kick those couple of goals.
Now, speaking about the back line, Gary, what's the policy with Sheedy on Gavin Wanganeen? He's been given best on the ground by a lot of pundits this morning, and yet his players kicked 6 goals. Now, is he given a free licence to roam around and just become a backline ruck rover, or is he supposed to look after his man?
Gavin's obviously a good player, Gerard, and for him to be valuable to our side, he's got to be getting the ball as well, and you know, defending attacks of the opposition side. But yeah, also he's got to stop some goals.
Which would be his main priority, defence or attack?
He's got to have both in his game, I suppose, and you know, his attack's very good. Perhaps, you know, he can concentrate tighten up a little bit.
Gary, thanks for your time. You've got West Coast. We believe it'll be next Sunday at the MCG, Scotty Palmer's told me. And very briefly, Justin, do you go to the match now today en masse to look at who you'll be playing against next week?
We're not going en masse, but it's been suggested that we might like to go and have a look. And
Do they give you a ticket?
So it's probably very possible that it will be en masse.
Fair enough. OK, we've looked at 2 of the stars, Gary O'Donnell and Justin Madden in AFL football. If you'd like one of the big stars, you can get one of these posters. Look at that, Modra and Carey. They're available from clubs, from news agents and poster outlets, $8.95, and I think in the big board frame at $30. They're terrific, wouldn't they, if you'd like to have one of those? A break, back with more after this.
GIO Australia thinks as much of everything in your home as you do. So if your faithful appliance or favourite furniture is stolen or destroyed in a fire, GIO will replace it with a brand new one. New for old, no matter how old. It's a refreshing idea in home contents insurance. Why trust the things you know and love to GIO Australia? To be really sure. Give GIO Australia a call.
Mitsubishi Triton Utes and Express fans. They only stop when you do.
When you've got a heavy load to haul, you need one hell of a wheelbarrow. Kelso wheelbarrows are built strong like trucks. And with a Kelso, you're always in control, especially when the going gets tough. Nothing carries a big load better than a Kelso. Anything less just won't last the distance.
Here's another load, darling.
Oh, great. Hey, do you like the fuchsias?
Yeah, they look terrific.
Can you pass me?
Kelsos, built stronger to last longer.
Another Quality Hills product.
Harvey World Travel, the travel professionals. Harvey World Travel.
The savings are yours when you book your Viva Bali or Singapore holiday with Harvey World Travel. Flying with Qantas Escape to Bali for 4 nights from $860. Or what about Singapore, 5 nights from an incredible $999? As a special offer, any bookings deposited this month get a Minolta camera free.
Harvey World Travel, the travel professionals for you. No, 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 no. No, no, no. No, 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 no.
If you're saying no to the goodness of milk because of worries about cholesterol and fat, here's a milk that has low cholesterol and virtually no fat. And the taste?
Yes, 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 yes.
Say no to cholesterol, yes to taste. And let's get Physical Slim.
Yes.
I want you to kill my mother and father.
He's charming, seductive, deadly, and your deepest secret is his most dangerous weapon.
Who'd you have lunch with? Who'd you have lunch with?
We're in trouble, aren't we?
Andy Garcia.
Police officer!
Rich featured gear.
You testify against Denis Pagan, who will grant you immunity.
You want her? And William Baldwin in one.
Hi, Raymond.
Of the all-time great action murder mysteries, Internal Affairs, 8:30 tonight.
Can I trust you? Of course you can trust me. I'm a cop.
I just wondered, Dennis, committee, about the form from yesterday's match at Waverley Park. How do you assess it? West Coast seemingly in sparkling form, but North Melbourne was down.
Yes, the attitude yesterday from the West Coast Eagles was terrific, but I'd seen North Melbourne play several times, I think, in the run-up to the final yesterday. And I think they were a side coming down the other side of the mountain. They'd had enough football, they'd had some injuries as well, so I think they were ripe for the plucking yesterday, and so it turned out. The West Coast Eagles, though, could do no more. They had some terrific players, fast start yesterday, and really things fell into place for them.
And that much celebrated defence of theirs was at its very best, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Well, I suppose going in, the potential match winner, and everybody talked about it, was Wayne Carey for North Melbourne. I felt yesterday he played a bit like a man who felt the pressure. A lot of weight on his shoulders yesterday, and Jakovic clearly won that contest, and he had great support as well. And by contrast, of course, Carey lacked support on the ground. The ball was coming to the ground often enough, but that's characteristic of yesterday. Carey caught out of position behind and forced to knock it to the ground. I thought Larkin played quite well. It surprised me, we'll talk to Dennis a bit later about this, that he started on the bench at the start of the second half.
And McAdam, who'd done so much during the year, it was as if he was on a different oval yesterday. He didn't really appear to put in.
Well, not yesterday, but I mean, wasn't he a bonus for the best part of the season? I mean, they got more from McAdam than I'm sure they expected.
I think he suffered more from Longmire's absence than any other throughout the season. We've seen when Longmire hasn't played, he hasn't quite performed. Perhaps he gets the second best defender as against the third and just can't work off Longmire.
Well, I think any defence, and the Eagles would be no exception, despite the calibre of their defence, is stretched when they've got to cover three players like Carey, Longmire and McAdam. Yesterday, far easier to take two out, particularly when you've got a high-marking player like Longmire that I think the Eagles find difficult to match up with.
Dennis, how positive would the Eagles be in their quest for the premiership, knowing that they've still got to win 3 games, and each one a cutthroat?
Yeah, it's still very tough. I mean, they've made it hard for themselves. Their finish wasn't much better, talking about sides coming in lacking momentum. They lost their last 2 games. North as well, not playing well, so neither side took much momentum into that game yesterday, and I suppose the Eagles are feeling content with themselves. They could do no more, as I said earlier, but they've still got a long way to go. I mean, it's a tough road to hoe, winning those 4 games on the trot. They've taken one step, and certainly the confidence level, as the game went yesterday, you got the feeling their confidence was on the rise, doing the little things, the subtle things. Finesse started to come into their game. So, yeah, they could be no better placed than they are this morning, but a long way to go.
Dennis, if North Melbourne want to make the next step, where do you see them having to improve over the summer in their recruiting?
Well, I don't think they've got to do very much. I mean, it's easy to say this morning, well, the wheels came off, but I, for one, have to say 5 weeks ago, I was hailing them as the premiers. So, having said that, I can't be too critical of them. I thought they deserved a better end, North Melbourne, than they got yesterday. I thought things just didn't work out in the last month for them. And again, a question to Dennis, if we can introduce Dennis at this early stage,
go
North
right
Melbourne coach Denis Pagan. I thought the absence of Laidley yesterday hurt you in the matchups, Dennis. You didn't get some of the matchups you wanted. Bearing in mind, Archer booted 5 goals against the Eagles last time around, and you were forced to play him in defence.
Yeah, we would have preferred to play Glenn up forward. Didn't work out yesterday. We missed Dean's running. I suppose when I look back now and coming home on the Brisbane plane, I thought to myself, gee, we look a bit tired. I hope things are going to keep going forward.
That was a dirty day, wasn't it?
And from that time onwards, things just didn't fall into place for us. And, you know, just sort of things ebbed away one at a time.
Yeah.
Let's introduce John Worsfold as well, because he's in Perth, the Western Australian captain. Congratulations, John. It was an outstanding performance. I think a lot of people are interested in the injuries. McKenna and Kemp, there was a query about, and Pike. How have those players pulled up?
Yeah, they all seemed fine after the game. Obviously, when you win, you don't feel the sore spots as much, but all those 3 guys pulled up fine.
Well, the question was asked at Dennis a moment ago about your chances of winning the flag from there. What's the feeling in the camp?
Well, I mean, Dennis said that, you know, there's a huge way a lot of work to be done. So really all we can focus on is playing Essendon this week, and if we can get over the top of them, which is going to be a huge job, you know, we've got the preliminary final, so really it's still week by week for us.
Dennis, you admitted after the Brisbane game the team looked as though it lost its sparkle or lost its drive or something. What did you try and do to remedy? You went away for a weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, we tried a few things, Bob. It's all very well. In retrospect, I thought that we tried to spark things up by going to Barooga with the wives and their families and that sort of stuff. And at times there, I thought, gee, look, you know, we're starting to look good again. And we get an injury and we get another one, and it just took a little bit away from us. And you know, it did unbalance our side. And we did lose the momentum.
So, Denis, is that a case of lack of physical strength to be able to maintain throughout a season?
Yeah,
There's that balance, you know, in pre-season you do too much running or not enough running or too much weights.
Well, North probably trained as hard as anyone off-season. You know, it was very exhaustive. Funnily enough, they didn't do any weight training, which I found was amazing.
So you think it could be a fact of lack of actual physical strength?
Well, there's no doubt about it. You look at the matchups yesterday with sort of Peter Mann and Djakovic and Adrian McAdam and Brennan. You know, they were sort of, you know, far too strong in the upper body.
Denis, Wayne Carey, did he go in with perhaps a niggle there in the hamstring?
No, he didn't. No, Wayne was 100% fit before he went in. He was never any doubt. He trained well during the week.
What about Rock?
Well, it was always a rough sort of chance that could happen. I thought he was terrific yesterday, Anthony. You know, virtually on one leg, didn't want to come off, and you know, had an ankle problem as well, which he never really recovered from. And his spirit and determination was special yesterday.
Well, what would your feedback to Wayne Carey be?
Look, Wayne Carey's been great for the North Melbourne Football Club as a player and as a captain. He's only failed twice this year against Fitzroy and yesterday. Some of the things that he's done during the year are really special. I think Wayne Carey can hold his head up high, and he's done a fantastic job for the North Melbourne Football Club this year.
John Worsfold in Perth. Certainly the selectors got it right yesterday with Chris Lewis. His impact on the game early was terrific.
Yeah, it was. You know, Louis was really looking forward to the game. He'd been out of football for a fair while, and you could just feel his enthusiasm on the training track during the week and really geeing the guys up before the game. So we expected Louis to be really sparkly out there, and you know, he showed what he can do.
What about the attitude before the game? Different to what you had against Footscray and Geelong, because it seemed to me it was almost like his side waiting to play finals football.
Yeah, I really did feel that a little bit, that the guys sort of breathed a sigh of relief after the home and away rounds, and thought, OK, now we're into the finals again and let's get going. But on the other hand, I thought, you know, playing Geelong last Friday night, we were in front for up until three-quarter time, and playing probably the form side of the competition at that stage. And, you know, I really didn't think our form was too bad against Geelong. Our tackling was pretty solid, and the run was there, and we just carried it in for 4 quarters yesterday.
John, you looked as if you're a team of boxers. You worked to the body of North Melbourne. You chased, you harassed, you really did tackle, and then the skill came in later on in the game. Was that a plan to go in hard for the ball and use the things that really don't get noticed?
Well, I mean, it's a plan you go in every week, that you've just got to go in as hard as you can and try and maintain it for the 4 quarters. And, you know, really our forward line tackling was exceptional yesterday, and I think it shows in the number of scoring shots we had that we really held the ball up there. And although we kicked, I think it was 18 points, it was just the fact that the guys were tackling so hard and holding the ball in the forward line until someone got a kick away and another shot at goal.
Denis, with Paul Harding going off the ground, did you take Ishenko off because of the balance there?
We wanted to make sure we had the run through the midfield. Alex is not a mobile ruckman. He's done a great job for us. Hines did get away a couple of times. We wanted to make sure that he was going to be strong in the second half as well, and we intended to use Peter Mann and Alex in tandem before the game started anyway.
Denis, what does that say about the value of the ruckman? Surely with Harding going off, you would have seen that as a plus for Ishenko to get up over the top.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, Alex didn't have a great day yesterday, you know, and he's been very good for us this year, and just didn't get enough of the ball. We wanted to get someone to start directing it from midfield and perhaps take a few catches and get a few kicks around there. And we just thought that, you know, it was going to be a hard day. It was going to be very demanding. We wanted to make sure that, you know, if he had a breather for a while, he could come back on and hopefully force it for us.
John, just in closing, what about Harding? Because everyone's interested. How did he travel back, and could he play next week?
Yeah, he seemed okay on the plane and in pretty good spirits, so I would expect he would be okay to come up for the game. But obviously, you know, that's out of my hands, and the doctors have to have a good look and assess him during the week, and providing he doesn't have too many after effects, I think he'll be fine.
I'd like to mention also that Gary O'Donnell told us in the break that Masiti and Fletcher will definitely play next week, John, in the match, and we do think it'll be on Sunday at the MCG. So they'll both be back.
Yeah, it'll be a real good game, and I'm sure there'll be a great crowd there to see it.
Good luck. And Denis, just in closing, who do you think might go top? You've seen them all?
I've seen them all. Look, I can't pick it. Maybe, I don't know why I say this, maybe Adelaide, if they get over the day, they might give it a shake. It's a funny sort of September.
Gee, that is a funny sort of tip. 20-1 Adelaide. Dennis, well done. It's been a tremendous season.
Thanks, Bruce.
Bad luck that it finished in such a way. We take a break, back with more after this.
GIO Australia thinks as much of everything in your home as you do. So if your faithful appliance or favourite furniture is stolen or destroyed in a fire, GIO will replace it with a brand new one. New for old, no matter how old. It's a refreshing idea in home contents insurance. Why trust the things you know and love to GIO Australia? To be really sure. Give GIO Australia a call.
Now you can give your all, again and again, because Schweppes Sport Plus puts back what the sweat takes out, fast.
Don't miss the ultimate in V8 warfare. The showdown at Sandown when the fabulous forwards and hot holders clash in the Sandown 500 this Sunday. See national champion Glenn Seaton. There's Alan Jones, Dick Johnson, Jeff Brabham, Bow and Waldock aboard their forwards. They tackle the Commodores of Brocky, Wayne Gardner, Skate, Perkins, Mazzara, Crompton and all the stars. 500 blazing Ks and the gloves are off. Come see the best at the best. The Sandown 500 this Sunday with action and traction from 9:40.
When life gives you an unlucky break, there's a bank that can help you out. A bank with mortgages so flexible, we can adjust payments if need be. Till you're back on your feet again. Which bank can adjust mortgage repayments? The Home Loan Bank.
If the Kellogg's cornflakes are going to be eaten to the last flake, that's the one I want to buy. Kellogg's cornflakes are fresh. You know they're sitting down to a really yummy breakfast and they eat it all.
Kellogg's cornflakes, because the simple things in life are often the best.
And I can't ask for more than that.
Take on a tough job in tough country, and you usually have to get there on all fours. But when that's not enough, you just have to use your muscle. That's why there's a whole range of Mitsubishi Tritons with all the muscle of a big V6. And if you can't rely on a big V6 with four-wheel drive to get you there, who can you rely on?
Yes, believe it or not, Dean Laidley and John Platten were there on Friday in Melbourne as they were trying to bury the Interstate Challenge. Well, the Eagles are still there and maybe the Crows will be after today. Mark Micken and Paul Deere shortly to talk about that match, but firstly the goals of the week with Robbo and Dennis Cometti.
The goal of the week and the goal of the year are proudly sponsored by BP.
Well, the first goal coming up is from the Gabba, where Hawthorn played the Bears, and look at Paul Hudson shrug the tackle and then excellently with the left foot dob it from about 35-40 metres out.
And still last Sunday at Football Park, there's something special that sets this man apart, Tony Modra. Another goal for him against Collingwood. A terrific afternoon, exciting player.
And surely one of the best rovers in Australia, Tony McGuinness, from just inside 50 metres and goes well and truly through those goals.
Yesterday at Waverley, a man who started very well. In fact, I think his value quite often underestimated by supporters of the Eagles. Peter Wilson in the thick of it. Fine goal, shrugging off a tackle.
If Wayne Carey is to miss the Brownlow, this man could take a few votes away from him. Wayne Schwass from outside 50 and goalpost high.
The old torpedo. Watch this. Roberts outnumbered close to the boundary line. McKenna not turning all that sharply on the leg, but Roberts slots a goal from a very sharp angle. Terrific goal.
It'll be interesting to get the panel's viewpoints on the value of this kick. It's a torpedo punt kick from about 65 metres. A great kick by Chris Lewis.
Well, M stands for McDonald's, Matera and Magic. All in one right there. Terrific goal outside of the foot.
Darren Buick kicked 3 goals last night. This was one of them. Top effort by Buick.
And a similar goal coming up. Now he picks up the ball. This is Powell bouncing it through from deep in the right full forward pocket. So some fine goals there coming off the last qualifying round and yesterday's 2 elimination finals. What do you
Well, you mentioned about McDonald's, Matera and Magic. I think you've summed it up pretty well. Peter Matera is certainly one of the most sensational players to play this game. He won the Norm Smith medal last year in the grand final, and that, I mean, can you kick a ball that far with a reverse punt kick?
Almost a record, I'd suggest, for a banana in midfield. That one, it's gone about 50 metres. Terrific kick.
World record to Peter Matera yesterday at Waverley Park. Our special guests are Paul Deere and Mark Micken to talk about Hawthorn and Adelaide. Just 2 years ago, you won the Norm Smith, Paul, and Mark, you won the best and fairest at the Crows. Gee, it's a long time in footy, isn't it? And you're not playing today for various reasons. Paul, I want to ask you firstly, and I guess, Mark, the same thing, a similar question as I asked earlier. Once you knew that North Melbourne hadn't won yesterday, it just put a little bit more on this game today because the winner goes into that second semi-final. Is that, do you think, in the thoughts of coaches and players today?
I think it is very much a factor. We can gain the double chance today and play off, hopefully, win 2 games, we're into the grand final, which wasn't allowed in the old system.
Well, Mark, Adelaide arrived, I think, here yesterday afternoon at about 5:10, just after that match was completed. Were you aware of the situation immediately?
I wasn't with the team when they arrived, but yeah, the boys are certainly, I think it's added a little bit of incentive for this game, that's for sure, and to know that you can sort of next week play in a second semi-final and get a double chance if you get over this one, it certainly adds a bit of intensity to the game.
Mark, the Adelaide Crows' performances in Melbourne have been fairly ordinary, but 2 weeks ago the second half against Hawthorn was quite good. Has there been much discussion, or have the boys watched a lot of the video of that game to try and get some positive thoughts?
I think from a losing game you can always learn a lot, and I think we certainly learned a lot from that game. Our record in Melbourne, we are very aware, is not good, and it's something we certainly have discussed throughout the season. And we believe that we're a good side. We're certainly a good side in Adelaide, and we just got to become a good side when we play away. And sooner or later that will happen. And when we start taking each contest as it comes and breaking the game down into bits and into small pieces, and rather than perhaps concentrating on the overall result, I think that's got a lot to do with our success when we play away.
Mark, what about the build-up in Adelaide this week? I got the feeling after the last game against Collingwood, things were starting to hum there. And in fact, talking about the failures in Melbourne, it seems to me perhaps if the entire city has got behind the team this week, it could almost galvanise the effort and perhaps be a plus for you.
Yes, possibly. I mean, we're expecting a lot of people to turn up at the MCG today and support Adelaide. Apparently there could be up to 20,000 South Australians at the MCG, so it might not be the typical away game, and perhaps the players will be buoyed a little bit by the fact that there is some support there for them, and that will be a bonus for us, I think.
Paul, in your absence and also Dermot's absence, who do you think is the best bet for centre-half forward? It's been a bit of a problem spot. Andy Gower's name there, Tony Hall's played there at times, Jarman. Your thoughts on that?
I think Andy Gowers is our best bet there at the moment. He hasn't got the strength, but he's got the mobility. He can, most times he'll be matched up against a heavier, stronger guy, but he'll run him off his feet.
Paul, did you think the team got a good lift from the win against the Bears last week? You went on with it very strongly, didn't you?
Yeah, last week was a very good win for the side. We've gradually been picking up the last couple of games. I think we played well against West Coast, but unfortunately we were beaten. Had a good game against Adelaide and really sort of started to get into full drive against the Bears.
Yeah. Mark, as Graham Corns pinpointed the fact that you started slowly in the last couple of weeks, last week against Collingwood, the preceding week against Hawthorn, you wouldn't be able to do that and win today.
No, you're right. We're very aware of that. We realised that the last game we played against Hawthorn, we lost in the first quarter. We lost very early, and the start becomes very important for us, and it's something that he's certainly brought up, and we're very aware of that.
The important thing, just following on from Ross's question, Paul, the structure of the forward line, will it be a three-man forward line? Who do you think will go up into midfield?
I really don't know. I wasn't in the team meeting on Thursday night.
Well, who would you?
I'd definitely have Tony Hall and maybe Paul Hudson close towards goal.
So three-man forward line, three people that have to go up in the midfield.
Jason Dunstall, I'd keep in his obvious position, and Andy Gowers. So I'd play four-man forward line today.
We've got to close it there. Mark, I know your dad's not too well today, and it is Father's Day. We wish him the best. And just tell us, mate, Ben Hart, is he going to play or not? I know you know the answer.
Well, this morning we went for a bit of a walk in the park, and Ben was walking really well. So
there could be a chance. There might be a chance. Good luck today for both Hawthorn and Adelaide. A break, back with more after this.
At BP, our fuels are tested, refined, proven and guaranteed. So by the time they get to you, we guarantee no fuel system problems. Ask for details about the BP fuel guarantee at your local station. BP, on the move.
Play Monopoly at McDonald's. Get your game card, scratch 3 game pieces and match the property group to win a mystery flight with Ansett Australia, one of the world's great airlines. Or you could win instantly.
To commemorate the incredible 93 season, the Sunday Age has produced self-framed full-colour official team photos of the AFL finalists. Collect all 6. This week it's Essendon and West Coast. Free-framed colour team photos. Another reason to look forward to the Sunday Age.
If you want to buy the best used car at the right price, there's only 3 types to buy. A Penfold Burwood used car, a Penfold Oakley used car, or a Penfold South Yarra used car. Each has a 12 months new car warranty, 24-hour roadside assistance. And if by chance the car doesn't suit, bring it back. We'll exchange it. That's guaranteed. Penfolds, Burwood, Oakley and South Yarra. No gimmicks, no hype, just quality used cars at the right price.
At ABS, Auto Brake Service, we'll show you exactly what work needs to be done and why. And when we're finished, we'll give you back your old brake parts as proof of the work carried out. Of course, what you do with them then is entirely up to you.
The band. The new album. Zuropa. The first single. Don't move, don't talk, out of time, don't think, don't know, everything's just 10 new tracks. The tour. The message. Zuropa, you too. The new album is out now.
Michael Jordan, the highest paid athlete on earth.
I'm a person just like you.
Behind the glamour, behind the hype, what's he really like? The Ondikis, if genes mean anything, will their child be running for Olympic gold? Merv Hughes, Ash's hero.
Isn't he amazing?
Is he a softie underneath? And Ned Zellick, the Aussie kid with the movie star looks. Has international fame changed him? Bruce McAvaney shows you the intimate side of the champions when Nike and Solo present the premiere of Seasons, Thursday on 7.
Welcome back. This is going to be interesting. The mark of the week. Modra took a beauty in Adelaide and Waterman was outstanding yesterday. Ross and Don to adjudicate.
The mark of the week and the mark of the year are proudly sponsored by Mitsubishi Motors.
We start with Tony Hall, who's renowned for taking some great overhead grabs, and this is no exception against Brisbane.
McGuinness again. This seems to be regular for this man, Tony Modra, figuring each week in marks of the week. Terrific mark.
Nigel Smart relishing his movement with the forward line. That's a very clever mark in front of Gavin Brown. Used his body well.
This man, not a noted high flyer, but he just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and that was spectacular.
And Gavin Wanganeen takes numerous marks again in spectacular fashion and just keeps his eye on the ball and controls it invariably all the way down to the ground.
Now, this man is a high flyer. He didn't get up quite as high, but nonetheless, that was a very good acrobatic mark.
And again last night, Steve Silvani, it's a shame he couldn't get a better angle on this because it was just an outstanding mark, controlled it with one hand and keeping the big fella at bay.
The acrobatic ability of Gavin Wanganeen, a real slips catch and plays on quickly. There were some terrific marks there.
It was, Scotty. I thought there was a few that you could give it to, but I think Chris Waterman, he has taken some great overhead marks and very good hands. And here's Scotty just jumping over two blokes, eyes on the footy, and took it all the way down to the ground, which sometimes when guys take marks like that, they let go of the footy, don't
And
they?
here's another camera angle shot. This is a terrific shot.
Well done.
Spectacular.
No argument there, I don't think. Congratulations to Chris. We look at last Sunday's votes. Melbourne and Fitzroy, Bob Davis went Baldwin, Satori and Dunstan. The Lions finishing with a flurry. Brisbane and Hawthorn, Bernie Quinlan went for Dunstall, who got double figures for the first time this year. Jarman and Allen, aren't they important players, those three? They'll figure today. Adelaide and Collingwood, Gerard Healy went McGuinness, and again, very important, McGuinness, Tregenza and Smarter. Maybe the 6 players we've just mentioned will hold part of the key to today's footy.
The SportsWorld Player of the Year is proudly sponsored by Telecom Australia.
And Australia's own Telecom Mobile Net is proud to say that Greg Williams is the Player of the Year. He wins that $2,000 digital phone and $1,000 worth of free calls. And Greg will be in the day after the grand final to accept that award. And who knows, he might get the Brownlow as well for a second time. He's right there with Carey amongst the favourites. Favourites today, Hawthorn 11-4 on, Adelaide 2-1. That means that Hawthorn are hot favourites. What are your feelings?
Well, Dunstall's the key, but Hart we know is walking well. I think Adelaide.
I'm at the same. It's interesting to see Denis Pagan make the same comment that he thinks Adelaide might go through. I think they might surprise a few people too.
It's an incredible turnaround, though, because only a fortnight ago everybody was saying that Adelaide can't possibly win in Melbourne. I said 3 weeks ago they weren't creditable after being beaten by Fitzroy, and suddenly everyone's saying they can win.
What are you saying about Ross and I?
I think they'll learn what Victorian football's all about this afternoon. Yes. Hawthorn 2 weeks ago played the first quarter like a final and kicked 8 goals to nothing. And I think Adelaide will be confronted with the same intensity from Hawthorn this afternoon.
The fitness of Platten, I think, is a pretty important factor. We don't know yet whether he's going to play, and I think if he doesn't play, well, then things would swing fairly significantly towards the Crows.
And being Father's Day and a proud father, I want my daughter to win the grand final of the netball with a bow and head, Steve.
Anybody else for a plug, Bob?
No, that's all.
You've done very well.
I'm going for Adelaide to win quite comfortably today.
There's one person here hasn't voted, Peter McKenna. I'm sure he'd go for Hawthorn.
Oh. Would, but I'm also interested in the Hawthorn Premiership captain, what he has to say.
Hawthorn for mine, and I think they'll do it fairly easily.
I think the key could be the first 10 minutes and maybe the first 5 minutes of the third quarter. Hawthorn's normally very good in that period, aren't they?
Well, you know, when Scotty was talking earlier about the marks on the balls, they've been doing golf balls like that for years. You should know. The ball's always just in front of you.
Don, we're going to go. Don, I hope you rack your brain again next week. We take a break. Kate Payton after this, an update.
Mitsubishi Triton Utes and Express fans. They only stop when you do.
So, I guess we'll be switching to Telecom Mobile Net Digital.
Not me, but someone moving around the city would benefit from Mobile Net Digital.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm a little confused.
Well, talk to Telecom Mobile Net, because they're the experts in both 018 and digital technology.
Technology. Now, that's something I can relate to.
You do.
Telecom Mobile Net. We're talking the right advice.
In over 20 years of service, Custom Tone have designed and installed kitchens in more than 40,000 Australian homes. Custom Tone is recognised as the industry leader, awarded for design excellence and proud of it. Visit one of our showrooms and discover the affordable quality and craftsmanship that sets us apart from the rest at a price to suit you. Our quality, competitive pricing and this month's special offer means now is the best time to buy your Custom Tone kitchen. Phone our mobile showroom now on 544 5400.
Channel 7 is introducing a new program classification system to aid your viewing. This will include these new program classifications and more viewer advice on the content of certain programs. The M and MA classifications replace the AO classification. Programs classified MA will be shown after 9 p.m. There will be viewer advice on the content of certain programs. If you would like to know more about any aspect of the commercial television industry code of practice, write to this address.
Mommy said she found our new home.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to see it?
What, now?
Sure, no problems. Meet you there in 20 minutes.
You know, darling, I think you might have found it.
Nobody does it better.
Thank you, Mr. Hooker.
LJ Hooker, you're the best.
It's action like no other. The Hawks hungry for another flag, and the Crows away from home. A September to remember. Hawthorn Adelaide, today at 4:45, only on 7 Sports.
A movie that takes suspense to new heights.
It gets better.
The Firm's Gene Hackman and Anne Archer.
Do you really think you can get her off this train?
The heart-racing thriller.
I'm really going to enjoy this.
Narrow Margin, Wednesday on 7.
This program proudly brought to you by GIO Australia. Now we're twice the insurance company we used to be.
Welcome back. Kate's return with the latest updates. Kate.
Thank you, Bruce. Well, it was a very exciting finish to the WNBL Grand Final last night between the Sydney Flames and defending champions Perth. With 25 seconds to go, it was still anybody's game, but thanks to some strong defence from the Flames, they won their first title 65-64. Meanwhile, in the NBL, Adelaide were just too strong for the Geelong Supercats. They led all night and won by 11. Canberra lost to Brisbane and could now lose out on the top 8. Gold Coast beat the Melbourne Tigers, but only just, and the Sydney Kings scored a solid win over North Melbourne. The Australians are doing well at the Rowing World Championships in the Czech Republic. Gary Linear and Bruce Hick defended their title in the men's lightweight double scull, and Alison Davies and Vicky Toogood, who were last year's Junior World Champions, won silver behind France in the women's coxless pairs. To the Four Nations men's hockey tournament in Hamburg, and Australia has drawn 2-2 with the Netherlands. In the other match, Pakistan defeated Germany 2-1. Finally, in AFL, Hawthorn will take on the Adelaide Crows this afternoon in the Elimination Final at the MCG, while in League, Manly will battle it out with Brisbane. I love September.
It's a good time of the year, isn't it?
Fantastic.
See you at the footy today. Good luck for the Hawks with you, and good luck to all the people that put in for our prize today from Ansett. But the lucky winner was Harry Purcell of Glen Huntly in Victoria, having that mystery trip. Good on you, Harry. What's coming up? Well, today the finals continue. Hawthorn and Adelaide from the MCG. Just check your local guides for details of the telecast. Next week, it's the continuation of the final series on Saturday and Sunday. And we do believe that Essendon is playing West Coast on the Sunday. That's what we've been told. Season starts this Thursday. I hope you can be with us. Our special guest on the first program, Michael Jordan. The indoor tennis commences on October 8, 9 and 10, and SportsWorld next Sunday at 9 o'clock. So I hope you've enjoyed the program. To all the dads right around Australia, especially mine, enjoy the day. Bye.
This has been a 7 Sports production.
He's
the sports reporter the sports people turn to when they want their story told right. Jim Wilson, an integral part of the 7 nightly news team.